Hello everyone and welcome to the Matrix Exodus. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be looking about the decline in voting, and I was particularly interested in what articles were saying, and I came across this one. Young children all find politics engaging, but by 15 this has changed. And this is written by a professor of social science and professor of political socialization here. And I was really shocked by their simplistic take on the world. And particularly what I'm finding is that they are sort of shaming poverty. I think what they've done with the boomers is ignite this idea and belief in the whole wealth, material wealth, financial wealth, and they've boomed that up to absolute significance. And even in today's society, you get loads and loads of people who do vote, and they want to vote for people who are billionaires, which is really strange. It was very, very different to what was going on with the 1970s, because I know that a lot of northerners from these industrial towns started to become fake MPs, you know, pretending to be about democracy when really they weren't. But anyway, that was all for a show, and this is too. But what they write is very simple. I mean, there's a lack of intelligence in here, and it is so significant. And these are professors. At age 11, children from poorly educated families, they're talking about poverty now already, because poverty is related to poorly educated families, are as interested in politics as children from well-educated ones. And this is from, I think it was 2021. I can't see. Let's have a look for when it was written. Doesn't actually say. Okay. Oh yeah, 2021 there. They are as interested in politics as the children from well-educated ones, but by the time they turn 15, children with well-educated parents are 10% more interested in politics than those with poorly educated parents. So they're talking about skill set here. They're talking about how their children are more interested in politics than perhaps they mean mine. I've got qualification, but I am not living in a land of luxury, or materialistically, by choice, but also by default. The social gap in political engagement is one of the most persistent problems in Western democracies. It leads to disadvantaged people having less say in the democratic process, and it skews electoral results towards the interests of the privileged groups in society. And that would mean them, because they are claiming to be well educated while they're claiming that I'm not. Compared with much of Europe, the UK has the largest gap in voting between young adults from middle class families and working class backgrounds. In a recent study, we sought to determine what age group, what age the gap becomes apparent and whether it persists into adulthood. What determines how politically aware and active a child will be. Youth engagement. In 2020, we set out to explore the development of political engagement between ages 11 and 25. We analysed data from the British Household Panel study and its successor, Understanding Society, the longest running study of the UK population. We relied on the question, how interested would you say you are in politics, to gauge political interest. We used the education levels of parents and their political engagement as indicators of class background. So they didn't even know. So this is not a scientific research at all. This is guesswork again, which is very much how science works these days, and bias and propaganda, dogma. We found that at age 11, children from the most and least educated families share a broadly similar level of interest in politics. In fact, children from less educated families actually show a slightly higher level of interest. However, by age 15, the political interest of children from the most educated parents has hardly changed. They remain as interested in politics as they were when they were 11, so slightly below the lesser educated people, which isn't very good for them. But for the least educated families, however, the level of interest children showed in politics has markedly declined. After age 15, political interest rises steadily among both groups, but the difference between them stays the same. We also looked at voting intentions, which is an important indicator or predictor of voting behaviour. We measured this with a question that asked young children which party they would vote for as an adult. This is where it gets really interesting, because this is where it gets really, their study is really simplistic, like childlike. But then they become even more childlike. These are professors. This is why I don't trust science. I'm not allowed to say the word science. Science. We used the response options none and don't know to signal a lack of intention. Well, this is ridiculous. When I was a child, I was taught that you should be voting based on on their manifestos. You base your vote on a manifesto. You don't base your vote on a colour, on a team. And this is what these professors are suggesting, that they would know who they're going to vote prior to having received any manifestos, because they're educating and instructing their children that, what's her name here? Bryony. Bryony's probably sat with her kids at lunchtime saying, "So kids, your mum here, she votes for red, okay? So make sure that you vote for red like your mummy, because your mummy's a scientist and I'm so clever. And if you vote for red, that makes you clever too." And they say up here that they start to lose interest for the working class, and the middle class kids don't. But their interest in the middle class is slightly below that of the working class. And that's probably because they're bored. They're listening to their parents saying, "Mummy votes for red, so you have to too." And you can tell that this is their mindset and this is how they train their kids, because they've written such a simplistic study so far. I mean, this is simple minds. This does not represent how I've been taught with voting as a child, and it's not a representation of how I teach my son to vote either. These people believe in social science world that everyone tells their kids, "Mummy votes red, so you do too." And that's the extent of their understanding of democracy. Mine was not like that. Mine was, you read the manifestos, you look at what is engaging and you think that will help you, or if you're looking to help others, what will help other people, and you vote for that political party. These people don't think like that. they think that you're meant to vote. So we use the response options, none and don't know, to signal a lack of intention. Did you provide them with manifestos so that they knew what they wanted to vote? Or are you assuming they just vote because mummy votes? We vote red because Bryony votes red. This is science, you know. This is science. It's stupid. As with political interest, we find a growing social group on this indicator of political engagement. God, this is so dumb. At age 11, there is no difference between children from well and less educated families in voting intentions, because no one knows what the manifesto is. You can't vote a manifesto without knowing what it is. Duh. Society's changed, dear Bryony and Jeanne. They have to choose a manifesto which is suitable for the changing society. Bloody hell. At age 11, there is no difference between children from, with their voting intentions. Yeah, because no one knows what the bloody manifestos are. You stupid people. As they grow older, both groups become more interested in voting for a particular party. Right, okay, so now you're actually getting there. You're assuming that kids are going to vote because that's what you're training your kids to do. Presumably, you're training your kids to vote like mummy does. Mummy's a scientist. Vote like mummy, and then you can be a brave scientist too. You know, that's simplistic. God, no wonder their kids lose interest in the dinner table. However, this growth is stronger among children from well-educated families, especially, I would imagine, if they are going to benefit. You know how there's that Peterson guy who was claiming to be a conservative, but actually a lot of his stuff indicates that he is far from that, but more sort of Stalin idol. And then that's kind of confirmed by his daughter, who is also very much a Stalin idol. And so I would imagine that her job is to repeat all the same stuff that her dad did so that she can benefit like he has done. She's not actually a business. I think she's called a CEO and a business and all of that. But she's not. She's Daddy's financial interest. This isn't stuff that she's done by herself from scratch. This is stuff that she's done with the aid of Daddy. And I would imagine that if a lot of children are, groomed into this political sort of script, then they too will do as their parents have said. Especially if they benefit from it, from nepotism. And there's a lot of nepotism on both sides. And a lot of these sides seem to be fake, like the Jordan Peterson people. They seem to be fake conservatives who are actually worshippers of communist leaders, which is bizarre. Parental input. So this is where parents can start to, groom their kids to Bryony's simplistic ways. Come on, let's see what she says. The degree to which parents are politically engaged themselves seems to matter too, and from an early age. We already see a large gap at age 11 between children. Well, that's not what you just said up there. Hang on, that's not what you just said up there. found that age 11, children from the most and least educations share a broadly similar level of interest in politics. In fact, the children from less educated families actually show a slightly higher level of interest. That's what you said. That's what you wrote. And now down here you're writing something different. We already see a large gap at age 11 between children from politically active families and those from disengaged ones in terms of how interested they are in politics and whether they intend to vote. Okay, so you're talking about the politically active. And what is classified as politically active as well? Yeah, they're talking about educated and then they're talking about politically active. So what is politically active meant to mean? Because you've just switched the script here from being about education to active politics, which is quite confusing. Not really sure why you did that. This gap further widens during early adolescence. Children of parents who are not actively engaged in the political process are even less likely to be interested in becoming so by the time they're 15. Why have they flipped the script from being about education to now being about politically active? Are they assuming that politically active people are more educated, or are they not? I don't really understand why they flipped the script there like they did. It's a bit weird. It might make sense further down, we'll see. After age 16, the gap stabilises. So while early childhood seems to be the crucial phase of politically engaged parents to pass their preference... Bryony. Bryony the indoctrinator. Come on, girl, you can do better than this. Surely you're a professor. After age 16, the gap stabilises. So while early childhood seems to be the crucial phase for indoctrination, for politically engaged parents to pass their preferences on to their children, early adolescence is the key phase when the education of parents begins to matter. Bryony teaches her kids to vote red because mummy does, and mummy's a scientist. That's what she does, doesn't she? That's what Bryony does. And Jeanne. That's what they do. They say mummy and daddy vote red, we vote Labour, so you should too. Damn. And they call themselves well educated up here. I'm presuming they're calling themselves well educated. They're not particularly bright, but well educated. They're well indoctrinated. Oh dear. Our findings show that parents have a lasting influence on their children's political development. I teach my son to critically analyse and look at where the world or society is heading, and this is when I say, you know, if he were to vote, I say, look at where the world is heading and what changes need to be done, and read the manifestos, all of them. And it doesn't matter if they start screaming far right or far left. If it's what needs for change, then you'd have to vote that. But be aware that you've got scammy manifestos with lots of contradicting ideas within it. And that's where the mess arrives from. Which is probably why it's better not to vote. I don't vote anymore. And neither does his dad. Neither of us vote. We're not interested. It's a fool's game. These differences highlight how how political inequality is transmitted through the generations. No, it shows how you're indoctrinating your children. That's what it Bryony, come on, be honest with yourself, girl. An important task of future research is to examine how exactly educated and engaged parents make their children become more politically engaged. Force their children. Dear me. Then now they go returning back to education of the parents. I tell you something. Language is a spell. It is magic cast over people. It's a spell, and it's used to manipulate people. And that was one piece of manipulation, if ever I've read one. Bloody hell, I mean. They flip from talking about education, then flip onto political active parents, as if they're the same things, which they're all over the place. UCL, bloody hell, get a grip. Learn your sciences, eh? Anyway, this is all I wanted to look at. I think there was this. Politicians must connect emotionally. With issues that halt global voter apathy. Yeah, okay. I won't do that one on this one. I think it's good, but there's low voter turnout, and I think that it will decline even more. I am noticing that a lot of, there's just a lot of people sort of who are celebrities saying to vote. I think that happened with Russell Brand. He wasn't going to vote. The fake script went. And then I think he spoke to Ed Miliband. Ed Miliband. Oh, he convinced him. Yeah, and the money, no doubt. So, yeah. Anyway, I think it's going to decline even more, which is a good thing. So, yeah. Anyway, that was it. It was just, it had me in stitches reading that, because Bryony, bless her, she's such a simple girl. She's a simplistic little love, isn't she? So, yeah. Gah. She's got a lovely smile. You can tell that she sits at the table and says, Mummy votes for red, so you should too, darling. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Please like, subscribe and share and comment if you will, and we'll check in a minute to see if I'm allowed to put my advertise my censored video about being raphead, because I'm not allowed to say the word because it upsets other people, by the illegal immigrant. Gotta speak in code. That's the world today, and I will be fighting back. Bye.